Mr. Roger Wood, ladies and gentlemen.
I was in the post office in Rottenstall, putting a parcel in, trying to make a bob or two on eBay, as you do, trying to make ends meet. There's an Indian woman in front of me at the counter, puts a card in the machine, the cashier's there, 20s. Oh. Where's she getting all this money from? Is she on the social? Is she on the dole? Has she been to Pakistan for 6 months and come and collect the arrears? I thought, it can't be right. And something spurred me to think, well, like I did in the old days, I got involved in Rochdale, we built Rochdale up, we built Burnley up, we built Oldham up. If you don't get involved, things aren't going to change. And it only needs one person to do one thing to move just that little bit further forward. See, there are lots of people in this room. There are people who make things happen, people who watch things happen, and people who haven't a clue what's happening. Now I hope that we're all going to belong in the first group, ladies and gentlemen. I hope that before the end of this evening, some of you are going to stick their hands up and say, I'm going to stand next year. Mr. Chairman.
In Sydney, in 2000, at the Olympics, 14 members of, you remember this, 14 members of various countries' entourage, what come along with the competitors, had decided they weren't leaving Sydney. They were stopping, they liked that, they liked it in Sydney. And the Australian authorities were working 7 days a week, 24 hours a day, to find these people, to remove them from Australia. 14 people. And in the same paper, on the next page, in 2000, what it is now I don't know because I don't have a calculator that big, 40 to 50,000 illegals in this country disappeared. And guess what? Nobody was looking for them. And the only person the Times could get to say anything about it was Anne Widdecombe. Yes. Now I'm glad. I am glad actually that some of you are aware about Anne Widdecombe, but this is how bad the Tories were in 2000. This is how defeated, how completely smashed the Tories were in 2000. The only person they could find to speak to the press and as a front for them was Anne Widdecombe. Now, I was with John on Sunday morning, and I've been trying, and I've been owning, and I've been trying for the life of me to do a good impression of Anne Widdecombe, and I can't, so I won't. But this is the person the Tories used to have to speak for them. So, you're probably saying, well, what's this all about? Well, I wrote a letter to the London Times regarding the contrast of 14 people in Australia disappearing, the authorities looking for them, and we've got 6 million at least who are missing in this country. So, I had to think about this, and I don't write as many letters as I used to do, but I wrote a letter to Boris Johnson regarding this. He's the Mayor of London, as well as a complete you-know-what. And I was going to print out several copies of this letter I had wrote, which is on my computer, but my printer packed up yesterday. So I've had to scribble down the gist of it. It's not the complete letter, there's 3 pages of a rant, but this is the general gist. Dear Mayor Johnson, first of all, may I congratulate you on your efforts to ensure that London 2012 is the biggest and best Olympic Games ever. I am salivating at the prospects of seeing more gold medals being won by our girls and boys. However, I am concerned on several issues regarding the Games and was wondering whether you could put my mind at rest. Firstly, it was reported that Sydney in 2000, several competitors and their entourage had disappeared after the Games, and therefore it was evident that they had no intentions of going back to their own country. This, I see, will be something we must be careful of in 2012. What precaution, if any, will we be putting in place? And it goes on and on and on. And I signed it, Chris Jackson, concerned citizen, God save the Queen. And guess what? Guess what?
Your reply.
Don't be ridiculous. As of yet, As of yet, I have not received a reply. But you're laughing, you see, but you can see it now, can't you? And even I amuse myself with it. The line up for several of the 100 metres. The Angolan hockey team. The Iranian ice hockey team. But this is what's going to happen. Absolutely no danger. This is what's going to happen. Thousands and thousands of people are going to come from these countries, every country in the world, and how many of them are coming for the games? Boris is quite happy with this, I've no doubt. Now, the good news. As Kevin said, and as Roger said, a lot of my adult years have been spent in nationalism. Some very low times, some high times. Yeah. And in 2002, after years of hard work and dedication and graft, we got councillors elected in Burnley. And we've had a topsy-turvy time in Burnley. It's not been easy. Every man and his dog has been against us. And we've held our own there. It's been difficult, and after many years of graft, Sharon Wilkinson, Burnley Borough Councillor, you've heard her speaking the meeting down at the Travellers, a courageous woman, an absolute courageous woman, this year, against all odds, won, which was at the time, although two other councillors in the rest of the country for the BNP candidate became county councillors, was at the time the first county council seat we had won in this country, and we won that through. Now, I was really disheartened at the vote because Sharon actually lost 200 votes from a previous election. But the result was this: Conservative 726, Liberal Democrat 927, Labour 954, BNP 1,155, winning her that seat. She lost 200 votes, but Councillor Johnston, a creep, a self-serving creep, lost 1,400 votes. He left the count crying. This is the same councillor in 2003 as our winning councillors, 8 of them were being photographed by the Lancashire Evening Telegraph, shouted out, "It's more like a Nuremberg rally," as he tripped over the step and splattered down onto the concrete. We won that seat. Sharon has now got a bigger voice. It opens a lot more doors for us as a Burnley branch, and not just as Burnley, but as Lancashire as a whole in the county council boroughs, including Rosendale, where Kevin and several others fought for the BNP, the seats in the county council. She's not on any committees, which I've discussed this with her only tonight, which for me and for her is good, because it means she's not as tied up in some of the mundane meetings which take place in these council chambers, and she can be free to go on the streets, to talk to the residents, focus groups. Last week she was at some club, an allotment society who wanted more money. She was signing a cheque for them, and it really is fantastic that we got Sharon elected. But it came with some serious graft. It really did. We were out every day of the week. It was summer in Brunshaw, in Acton, in other areas. Sometimes the sun was burning us, and on one of the days in Brunshaw the rain was vertical and we were soaked wet through. We had the usual shouters coming out, and it's bizarre. It just shows you how bizarre democracy is. We were at Printers Fold, if anybody knows it, in Lower House, a new housing development. We were on there one morning. Beautiful houses. There's no dandelions, between the paving stones. They're hanging baskets. It's fantastic. But we were on one little close, and this lady came out. I say a lady, and her house, unlike the others, rubbish all outside her house. A new house. And a trampoline in the garden. I hope I haven't touched a raw nerve here tonight. If anybody's got a trampoline in the garden, yes. Mr. Kelly here, when we're in Powell, will be coming to see you about your trampoline. And she came out and she came screaming, "Excuse me, I don't want this." I said, "Well, throw it on the floor with the rest of the rubbish." And there was the irony. Nobody else came out, but the lady with the scruffy house and the trampoline came out. "I don't want this." But we just put her down, we carried on, and we won the seat. Now, Kevin spoke tonight about leafleting, council meetings, about graft. And I'm going to end tonight by saying that's what it takes. It takes a lot of graft, a lot of guts, a lot of dedication. It does.